you.
Yep.
All right. Let's start.
Those are only $95,000 engine for the upgrade.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Lon, would you like?
Sure, bow our heads a minute. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you again just to ask for your hand to safely get us through the missions and the day in, day out that we go through, and be with our families, Lord. We pray that they support us in the Civil Air Patrol here. Lord, be with our service members, ladies, their families. Give them protection and the resources that they need to do their job, and bless us here this evening, we pray. Amen.
Okay. Lon, would you like to give a quick update on aircraft?
It's flying well, ready to be, we've got about 18 hours before the next oil change. And there's a couple minor write-ups, but the door latch, which was the big one, that's been fixed. A couple minor other things, we're waiting on some chains for the fuel caps. They ended up missing somehow.
That should be in that approval we were talking about.
Yeah. So probably the next 100 hour that it goes into. There's a question that I was going to bring up about the PDF displays.
Right.
I don't know, could you describe that?
Well, Terry Pratt says that the PDF is not bright enough. Even when it's on full, it's not bright enough.
The PFD?
PFD.
Yeah, the
PFD.
PFD.
Okay.
PDF. I've been doing stuff all weekend, so it's PFD, yeah. Primary flight display. He says not as bright as he thinks it should be.
Well, there's also another write-up that it sometimes blanks out at the end of the,
Yeah, you know, but a lot of people haven't been getting that.
I haven't
mean,
either.
you haven't gotten it?
no?
Okay, so if we can't reproduce that, then we should take that off the squawk
Okay,
until it reappears.
right, right.
Huh?
C and D cannot duplicate?
Yeah, cannot duplicate, yeah.
I haven't really
that's-
noticed, I mean, I've flown it, you know,
And other people have flown it too and told me
hours.
the same thing. Hey, we can't get this to happen. And I go, well, okay. So
I haven't really noticed it being dim either, but, so,
he says it's not as bright as he thinks it should be.
oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
So that's pretty in a summary, what we have for status, and I have not heard any mention from anybody that they plan on relocating the plane back to Palm Springs anytime soon. So I don't know anything about if anybody has any plans that they move it back over there or not. So I'd keep trying to fly it as much as we can while we got it.
Yes. Have you got your all rights qualification?
Oh yeah, yes,
Okay.
that was part of my Form 5.
So let's fly cadets as much as we can. I went this weekend. I went with Terry on his all rights in the back seat just to get an idea how it all, the flow,
Uh-huh.
what actions should be taken, and what kind of syllabus he is using. It was simple first syllabus, just introduction to flight. Terry is great actually. His flow is perfect. It's hard to get to that level, but we'll try. For me, I will need to complete a couple of proficiency flights since we have them approved, and then I'll start booking cadet rides. As far as other updates go, I would suggest that we will have a quick open discussion today on any questions our members have regarding onboarding, regarding professional levels, so we can help you to move forward. It's not easy, and new members specifically have deadline, I believe 3 months, right? From the date you join, you have to complete level 1, and there are certain steps you have to take, and at some point you may get stuck because it requires a review with myself or one of the deputy commanders to unblock you from moving forward. So do not hesitate to reach out. So far, I mean, there was not a lot of interaction. It's just don't worry. You are not bothering me. You are not bothering Christopher or Mike. Just send your email. Call us. My phone number is in the signature in my emails, and I can put it on a whiteboard here so everyone can write it down. Yes.
I have a question regarding, well, I guess onboarding, or not even that. Do we have any scanners that need rides for their checkoff? What I'm thinking is that, I mean, I actually can sign off a scanner. I'm the, what they call SE or
Are
whatever.
you a set evaluator for
Yes,
scanner?
for
Good,
scanner.
good.
So I can
Arnold.
fly as a pilot, and the question really is that if I do a proficiency flight and I bring a scanner on board, will that count as one of his rides?
Only on renewals.
Only on renewal?
Yeah, because you only need one ride on a renewal.
Okay.
And since you've had the base environment, you've done all that stuff already. So a brand new scanner has to do the FEMIN prep, which I have volunteered to do the FEMIN prep for whoever needs to. I'll do it on whatever day that you're available. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so basically, we will put it on a screen right now, and we will show you what are the prerequisites to become a scanner. So as Mike mentioned, there is a familiarization and preparation part, which you have to do. But before you open up to that, you have to send me a request that I approve you start working on a scanner as a specialty truck. So once I unblock you, all the other items from FEMIN prep becomes active. And then you read the study guide and schedule time with Mike and finish it. And then you can reach out to me or Lon so we can get you to the aircraft and you can actually walk practical part. I cannot sign you off, but Lon can.
You have to do the air work with a set evaluator of that category. So in other words, for scanner, so Lon's a set evaluator and I'm a set evaluator for scanner. So you have to do the air work with that person. I can't do air work because I can't fly as a pilot in command. But if I was riding as an observer, I could actually sign off the scanner. So, but Lon can do that for renewals only. He can, if he's flying on a mission a mission like a SARX, if he's flying in the SARX, then he can sign you off as that, for that particular exercise. Because you have to have 2 exercises for,
Yeah.
and those are called, God, I can never remember the term, but it's just it's a operational period, right? So for a scanner, an operational period is 1 day, so, right?
So, in summary, as I understand it then, is I can't sign off 1 or 2 of the flights that a scanner would go fly with me on one of my Profile A missions, if I understood you correctly.
Yeah, that's kind of gray, because, you're still doing the work and you're still a set evaluator, however.
It's an A mission.
Yeah, however, you can't sign them off, that exercise as a participation exercise has to be done, the first ones have to be done at a SARX.
Oh, okay,
The way I understand it,
okay.
so.
Let's do that.
Well, for all SQTRs, everybody, the very first initial ones all have to be done at
SARX.
At a SARX. And like if you're a planning section chief or an AOBD or something like that, then you have to have the whole entire weekend as one operational period. So you have to have the whole weekend, you sign off one, you have to have the whole weekend again, you sign off the second one. It's kind of, so anyway.
So here's my phone number in case if reaching me over email is a problem. I'm pretty responsive. I will, if I cannot take your call, I will call you back. Text me, I will respond to you practically right away, except while I'm sleeping, maybe. And Mike may also share his if you would like to. So let's get you moving. Let's get that mission scanner off your way so you can actually get into the onboarding program. I have shared on Teams. I will show the screen. So please install the Teams, and there you can actually see, if you go to Teams under Squadron 5, if you are not on a Squadron 5 for any reason, again, tell Chris, he will make sure you get there. You add it to the group. You go to Form 5, post your questions there. This way other members will benefit from the answers. So for now, I posted a video from another squadron based at Santa Monica, which is a great summary of what you have to go through to become a VFR pilot. It actually goes in detail on all the stages of onboarding process. So as far as mission scanner goes, you go to e-services, sign in. Internet is kind of slow today. Let's wait for it to get in. And then you go to operations qualifications, and then to SQTR entry. Man, it's slow. No wonder it took forever to download Teams. We need to check if our bill was paid for the internet.
Do a speed check. Sometimes the router has to be reset.
Right.
Because it should be 9510 or 9010. Oh, he's also streaming. So. Yeah. And there's
Well, streaming is the opposite direction, right? So here we can repeat quickly how to manage your favorites. So you click on this button next to your name, and then to go to favorite applications, and there are few you absolutely need to have. You go to operations and check off operations qualifications, and you will certainly need to mute.
I'm trying to find it.
I just put the volume down. There you go. Definitely you will need the WIMRs checked off. You certainly will need from professional development professional levels, and for those engaged in specific specialty trucks, the other one. I think it would be a good start for typical member access. Oh yes, for online learning you need to check off learning management system. I don't recall what CAP online courses and exam does, if it's any different from LMS, but I checked it off, never used it, I believe. Then you return to e-services, and you can just click on top of the page and go to operations qualifications. So many new members keep basically repeating these mistakes, myself included. If you click on e-services, which I used to do, you go back to the main screen. So the way this web system is organized, you have to click on that chevron pointing down, which identifies a submenu for this particular section. So here you would need to go to SQTR entry worksheet, and from there enter your CAP ID. I will enter mine. For me, it's a puzzle. Why do I have to enter since I'm logged in? Maybe for those who is approving somebody else's work, but typically it should be the person who is working with the system,
It
right?
used to work that way. If you were signed in, it would go right to your record, and then they changed it. They made it better.
So here you are concerned
That's
about
your own idea, what you got idea.
operations emergency services, so it's a default functional area.
They say that with just.
And there you scroll down and select mission scanner. So at that point it will display all the tasks. For me it's irrelevant, it's not the same as for the new members because I already completed my initial qualifications. Let's use your example, Arnold. What is your operations qualifications? What is your CAP ID?
Who you talking to?
Arnold, just a second, let me get to the page.
You know, you can look it up by his name.
Oh yeah, true. How do I unenroll myself? Ah, this one. Right. Okay. So you can search by name, last name, and you are the only one with that last name, so easy.
Well, depending on your rights, your permissions. So if you're in the squadron, it'll only show you squadron people.
Right.
But if you're group, it'll show you group. And if you're wing, it'll show you group, wing, and unit. So
Right. So here you can see what are the prerequisites. So first step we have to complete is general emergency services. So definitely that's a good place to start. So if you click here, I don't know if it goes anywhere. So okay, you already completed level 1, good job. You need to complete GS questionnaire, which I believe is in the learning management system. So you go to e-services, then you go to learning management system, and then go to access. Well, doesn't work for me. Access is down. Right, so you go to access, it's a separate page. Typically I click in a new window, so I keep this one active. And
why don't you share your screen in Teams so the Teams people can see what you're doing?
don't I share it? No, I didn't. Sorry about that.
I just made a suggestion.
That's a good suggestion. Okay.
So now we can see what you're talking about.
Right. So I'll go back. We will go to SQTR entry, operations qualifications, ops qual, SQTR entry. You can put your last name or you can put your CAP ID. I will use Arnold. And then you select the qualification you are working on. So your first one is mission scanner. Then it shows you all the tasks you have to complete to become a mission scanner. So GES is the first step you have to work on, and that is available in learning management system. So if I go back here and go to e-services, so I can have 2 windows. Maybe this time I'll be more successful. No, access is down, so that's unfortunate.
Did you try clicking on where it says new?
Oh, access is down.
Oh,
No, it's not functioning right now?
Too many people use it.
Well, there may be.
So you will see that once you click on, oh, it came back. So you click on access, it opens a new type of screen. So here you will have course catalog. And for you, it will be a little different. You will have level 1 stuff on this page. So general emergency services, just I probably will not have it because I already completed it. It's not on my list, but
It's down there, it's in there, it's GES, 160.
okay, I don't have it. But it's there. Basically, search for GES and you will find that course. You have to enroll yourself.
Yeah, I completed those last night. The GES? Yeah.
Hmm.
The 116, 117, part 1, 2, and 3, and then also the aircraft ground handling. Well, it says it's acting funky, I wonder.
Right. So if everything worked normally, this achievement would be green. And it would unblock you from moving. It would unblock you, and you would be able to move forward.
Just a point of information, if you wanna allow him on the, it says, commander approval for prereqs, you could probably do that now, even though his other two are not finished yet.
Yeah.
Since you're there.
So basically, next step, you check off that you are over 18, and then you check off commander's approval for prerequisites, and you put today's name, and you go down. Actually, you don't have to go too far, and click submit. And that goes to me, and also to my deputies for approval. Okay, I didn't click on the date, obviously.
Since you did it, it may not ask for approval from anybody else.
Right, so since I was
If he
logged
did it,
in,
it would go to your console,
right,
just so you know.
right.
But
So
since you did
now
or
it shows
invited
a couple of items.
It automatically authorizes that.
Yeah. So now we can see that Arnold is unblocked. Once the GES is green, he can actually start working on the rest. Actually,
When you did the GES, did they give you a certificate? Was there a certificate?
There was a place where I could print certificate, but I didn't.
So what you can do is you can print that, and you can upload that to your documents, and you can tell one of us, and we can look at that document, and we can authorize that. Okay. It doesn't have to go through the system.
right. So if we go to this particular one, it shows.
You just print the PDF and upload that to us. Okay. Send it to us in an email form.
Well,
Hey,
I believe it can be done. So let's see what happens then. If there is a certificate number, we just put it here, I guess, and click submit.
Yep.
Oh, it's green. We just need to validate it's indeed completed. Now you are open to work on mission scanner.
You go back to his SQTR mission scanner.
Right.
There, see it's green now.
So now it talks about specific tasks. So you need to go to the document library and download the task guide for the specific track for mission scanner and study it. It's not that big. Actually, we have it here somewhere. You can review it.
There's a lot of the sections in there that, because he's a pilot, he already knows.
Right.
That's why it's so simple for me to do a class for a pilot. It only takes 4 hours, and we can do all the tasks.
Yeah, and tasks are pretty straightforward. So if you highlight specific task, you see in detail what it's all about. So demonstrate ground operations and safety. It's pretty straightforward. You completed ground handling class as well, I noticed, and you can just verbally explain around the aircraft what you do and how to do it safely, and it will be checked off. Then so on and so forth. So once you complete all the 22 tasks for FEM and prep, what Mike is volunteering to assist you with, just pick a date, time, get it done. It's going to take you maybe a few hours to get it done properly, and it will go to the next step, my approval for task you have completed. So all I do, I go back and I see who approved all your tasks, and I sign off on this one. Now you are cleared for practical advanced training. So for advanced training, you need to complete IS 100 and IS 700. Those you do on FEMA site. You complete the course, you get your certificate, and I'll show you where to find it. And from there, you upload it under your qualifications. So let's say you completed both 100 and 700, then you need to go to OpsQual, then go to airplane, or maybe not necessarily there. No, you can do it from here. View upload documents.
Yeah, that's it.
From there, once it opens the window, well, it doesn't work. But basically, you get like a chart, and in the chart, let's see if it works second time.
Looks like National is having trouble today.
There you go. So it's asking you, what would you like to upload? You are in the emergency services section. You click here and you scroll down, IS 100, and you need IS 700. So let's say you select IS 100, you select your certificate which you receive from FEMA and upload it there. Once you hit submit, it's tricky, right? So just uploading is not enough. You do upload your certificate. After that, you go back to your MS qualifications and you click on this one and you put a date when you uploaded, you completed your IS 100. And you don't need to enter anything else. You just click submit. It goes to me or Mike or Chris. We can approve it. We will go. We will review that you indeed uploaded the certificate. It's valid. And we will sign you off on this task. So these are probably the most time-consuming items in Mission Scanner, IS 100 and 700, because you have to do it on FEMA training website. If I recall correctly, the video which I shared does refer you to the right spot, but let me see if I can actually find it. It's been a while since I worked on it. Chris, do you have it handy by any chance? The FEMA.
Just type in Google FEMA.
Just go to FEMA.gov.
Yeah, well, that's not it. Nope. Training, yeah, there you go. So that particular one gives you an idea on incident command system.
It's training.fema.gov/is.
Yeah. Training, right here. So this one is 100 course. So to get started, you will need to create a student ID. Let's see if I remember how to create that one. So once you create your student ID, you will, I think it's apply, right?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So, in order to fly in the airplane with me, a member just has to have his emergency level 1 signed off.
GES should be
So he doesn't
finished.
need, he or she does not need to be a scanner mission observer. They just need to have their level 1 completed.
And their aircraft handling.
And
Aircraft
ground
handling,
handling,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Ground handling, yeah.
And that applies for cadets as well.
Okay,
Well, aircraft handling's for everybody in the
For
squadron.
everyone
And
who,
you gotta do it, I think, every year
2 years,
or every 2 years, yeah.
something like that. Because I'm looking now for people to go flying with me that are in our squadron.
Can you sign off observer?
I'd have to look.
We can look it up actually. We can
Yeah.
see if Lon. So I figured it out. So basically here you can study. So there is an interactive web-based course. And you start it and you can take as much time as you'd like. And you can download materials for the course and so on and so forth. Once you are ready to take an exam, you basically have to have a SEED, a student ID. You click on register for SEED. I think it will redirect automatically, or maybe not. So anyway, you go there, FEMA SEED, and you enroll.
I know, but I still gotta get renewed every couple of years. Everybody has to get renewed.
Well, the internet is not working.
Yeah.
Looks like government systems are
I
slow.
can even go with you to IPL and get signed up.
Just gotta get my Form 91 recall.
So
Ours haven't aligned on that one yet.
Wow, you're even a transport mission pilot set.
all right, so when site is operating, you'll get a form, you fill it out, use your CAP email, and I believe it's asking if you are affiliated with CAP. I have done mine a long time ago. I don't remember how the form looks like. Oh, there you go. So click on register for FEMA SEED and complete the form. It's quick. You will get an email and there will be your SEED. Save that email. Like in my CAP email folders, I created a dedicated folder for FEMA and I saved that email there. So I know if I have to find it, I just go back and locate it there, because every time you will have to take multiple exams. First one is 100 and 700, but then you have to do others to become a mission pilot, and then the transport mission pilot, transport mission pilot and the mission pilot. So that SEED will be your gateway to get your certificate for IS series of exams. All right, so then basically you complete 2 of these and go back on to mission scanner once and working with Mike and then Lon, complete all the tasks and you will be ready to go. So then if you go to qualifications for the pilot, once you complete mission scanner, you can go and start completing FAA requirements. So here you specify what ratings and what kind of endorsements you actually have. So you put your private single engine land, you put anything else applicable, if you have instrument rating for airplane, etc. And if you're an instructor, you put your CFI or CFII information here. You specify your medical type. Is it FAA medical? Is it specific class? And when was it done? And you'll have to upload a copy of your pilot license to the portal, etc. And it's all done through view upload documents. So you need to complete all of the above. You need to put your flight review. If you are with wings program, specify the date you completed your phase of the wings program, and upload again the certificate of completion to this section under the pilot. The other prerequisite would be you need to complete complex aircraft training and your high performance aircraft training. So you just take a picture of the endorsement in your logbook and upload it again using this specific section.
And I think the complex is confusing because we don't fly complex aircraft, we fly TAA aircraft, technology advanced aircraft. So it's like one of these days they should probably replace complex with TAA.
Now, complex is
the same?
constant speed prop.
Is it?
Yeah,
I thought it had to be constant speed and retractable. I thought.
constant speed and something else, right? I don't
I think it's
remember.
retractable gear. It always confused me that we have complex because you need retract for that. I thought. But anyways.
I think it's retractable flaps and constant speed propeller.
Yeah, but one of
Two-
these days.
There are multiple options.
And if you have a landing gear, it's
Yeah.
like 2 of the 3.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Two of the three?
I can look it up if you'd like.
Oh, okay.
So here under the pilot, you look and specific items, complete at least one for medical, complete your, load your FAA certificate, load your flight review, wings if applicable, and that would be it. Ignore aircraft type for your license, for your medical, it's irrelevant. You can specify the type of aircraft for your flight review if you want, but again, it's not required. And it will be, once you upload all of these steps, it sends notifications to someone to review it. So first, probably at squadron level we review it, then it goes to the wing, to the group, then to the wing, and once it's done, you will see these items checked off. Once you complete your prerequisites and start onboarding for VFR pilot, you start working in airplane section. And there there are steps to complete. This internet is so slow. So again, it's a chart, and you can start from top and going down one by one, finishing steps. The ultimate goal is to get your Form 5 done. Form 5 is the CUP version of check ride, and that means you completed your onboarding flights. Your CUP instructor recommended that you go and get your Form 5. You schedule your Form 5 exam. At Form 5 exam, you have 2 deliverables, well, 3 deliverables. Actual sortie debriefed properly with all the details. Your questionnaire completed and signed off by the instructor who did your check ride. So keep that. And your actual Form 5 with all the steps checked off and signed off. Then you scan those and again upload it through this portal. It gets reviewed. As soon as it's approved at the wings level, you will be qualified as a pilot. You will have your specific aircraft you are allowed to fly, and you can start actually flying it. So you have over 500 hours as far as I recall, right? So you'll be able, after completing initial Form 5, you can start working on Form 91, which is a mission pilot. And that's a lot more fun. Questions, comments? No? Okay. Anything else we would like to cover as it relates to onboarding? Well, then I think we can find some interesting safety-related video to watch. Any suggestions? What I liked on YouTube, there is a AOPA Safety Foundation, Safety Institute, and they have a series of videos for, right, so this one is interesting. It's about the wake turbulence.
They flew up the coast
Maybe.
towards Malibu
Right.
and turned around and flew back towards Santa
Okay,
Monica.
let's go back.
Let's take an early look at the crash of a Piper Sport in Santa Monica, California. The crash involved 2 fatalities, an instructor and a student. The instructor and student took off at Santa Monica and made a right-hand turn and flew up the coast. Reports vary, but it seems like the student was on either his first or his second orientation ride. They flew up the coast towards Malibu and then turned around and flew back towards Santa Monica. In the course of that flight, they executed a couple 360 turns. Whether or not they were practicing maneuvers or just doing sightseeing is unknown. As they approached Santa Monica, a King Air 350 was departing. The tower cleared the King Air 350 to depart and cleared the Piper Sport to land behind it with a warning about wake turbulence from the departing King Air. The Piper Sport came in about a minute behind the King Air. According to eyewitnesses, the airplane pitched up aggressively, climbed to roughly 100 feet. That altitude can be in question. Eyewitness reports for altitude estimation can be difficult, but eyewitnesses had it climbing to about 100 feet, and then the aircraft spiraled down and crashed. Presumably, it pitched up and stalled and crashed, and both aboard died. There's 2 theories about this accident and how it occurred. So what we know is that from eyewitness reports that the Piper Sport pitched up aggressively and then spiraled down and crashed. What we don't know is why. And hopefully the NTSB investigation can shed some light on that. There are a couple clues that will help us figure out why the Piper Sport pitched up, and a couple theories. The first is wake turbulence from the departing King Air. The challenge with that theory is that the King Air 350 on takeoff roll would have been well down the runway before it climbed, and given where the Piper Sport crashed adjacent to the runway near the approach in, there shouldn't have been wake turbulence yet, but there might have been disturbance from the propellers. The Piper Sport's a light sport aircraft, and light sport aircrafts are highly pitch sensitive. So it wouldn't take much for there to be some pitch sensitivity involved in the Piper Sport. That's the first theory, that the airplane pitched up aggressively, and not necessarily that it pitched up from the wake turbulence, but pitched up from an aggressive reaction to the wake turbulence as the Piper Sport came into land. The second theory of why it pitched up is based on some audio that we can get from liveatc.net. We can hear what appears to be someone in the cockpit saying with an increasingly panicked voice, "Let go, let go, let go." After that, the airplane spirals down and crashes.
That's kind of what goes through my mind, somebody was just pulling back.
West Coast 1, runway 21, line up away, traffic turning on 2 mile final, line sport.
Runway 21, West Coast 8,
West Coast 1, upwind traffic turning away, runway 21, clear takeoff.
21, clear takeoff, West Coast 1.
I suppose 6 Whiskey Kilo, report a King Air inside.
Inside, 126 Kilo.
Number 6 Whiskey Kilo, caution by turbulence, maintain visual separation, runway 21, clear for the option.
Maintain visual, runway 21. Kilo, full stop, 6 Kilo, thank you.
West Coast 1, contact Flipkart departure, connect.
Good day, West Coast 1.
So, based on that cockpit communications, it could be that someone inside the cockpit, presumably the student, panicked for some reason, grabbed the stick, the Piper Sport has a stick, not a yoke, and pulled back aggressively, and the other person in the cockpit, presumably the instructor, simply didn't have enough time or enough force to overcome the panicked occupant. It could be there's a combination of these two that caused the Piper Sport to pitch up. Perhaps there was some disturbance from propellers or wake turbulence from the King Air. The winds that day from Santa Monica, when you account for magnetic variation of METAR and runway heading, appear to be pretty close to right down the runway at about 6 knots. So perhaps some kind of disturbance, some kind of air disturbance caused a little pitch sensitivity out of the Piper Sport. There was an aggressive overreaction to that, and then the inability from someone, again, presumably the instructor, to overcome it in enough time to prevent the stall. The final theory could be some kind of structural failure. So it's possible that at just the wrong time, there was some kind of structural failure that caused the pitch up of the Piper Sport. That seems unlikely given the communications that we can hear from the instructor. Again, we don't know that for sure. We just know it's a voice in the cockpit calling go, go, let go. That seems to invalidate any kind of structural failure that may have happened, but it is something I'm sure the NTSB will look into. We'll follow this accident and keep you posted on our various channels as we learn more. Thanks for watching.
Right, yeah, it was very disturbing to watch it. Lesson learned for us, no matter what, be vigilant about who you're flying with, and on a short final, when we are doing all rides, make sure the student is not near the cadet is not near the controls. As an example, if you're flying with a pilot in the right seat, make it clear who is pilot in command, and exercise vigilance in an environment where wake turbulence is possible. The other interesting incident which we need to learn from is related to mid-air collision, which happened recently in Northern California, where Cessna in a pattern collided with twin Cessna on a final. So the scenario is interesting because it's a fast low-wing airplane on a straight-in approach and a high-wing airplane in a pattern, much slower airplane. In that specific scenario, totally avoidable from both sides, from the pilot on the final, knowing someone is in a pattern and knowing the other pilot turned final, he shouldn't go straight in. It's simply unacceptable. On the other hand, the pilot in a pattern should think ahead and avoid, extend the downwind leg. Don't rush it. Let the pilot who is coming on the final land and then go after the pilot, because maybe he has some sort of an emergency. He didn't express it. But extremely interesting how, with all the communications in place, a DSB on both airplanes, this incident still took place. I believe it's this one.
Let's take an early look at a mid-air collision that happened recently in Watsonville, California. Once again, we see a mid-air between an aircraft that's in the pattern, executing touch and goes, and an aircraft entering the pattern at high speed. You can see from the animation we've developed here how the accident unfolded. We do want to caveat, we don't have a complete data set for this animation. This is our projection of the Cessna 152's flight path based on the collision and based on communications that we could get from liveatc.net. We do have a good data set from the Cessna 340, so that comes from actual ADSB data. Take a look at this animation to see how the accident happened.
Watsonville area traffic with Cessna 740 Whiskey Juliet 10 miles east. Presently we're at 4500 after the last ridge will descend for a straight in for 20. Watsonville. Watsonville traffic, Cessna 9831, left crosswind 20, Watsonville. Watsonville traffic, Cessna 9831, turning left downwind 20, Watsonville. Watsonville area traffic, with Cessna 740, Whiskey Juliet, 3 miles, straight in, 20, full stop, Watsonville. Watsonville traffic, Cessna 9831, turning left base 20, Watsonville. Watsonville area traffic, Twin Cessna 740 Whiskey Juliet, 1 mile, straight in, 20, full stop. Looking for traffic on left base. Yeah, I see you. You're behind me. I'm gonna go around then, because you're coming at me pretty quick, man. Everybody, please be advised there is an accident towards runway 20. Please be advised. Watsonville.
From that animation, we can see that both pilots are aware of each other. The twin pilot calls the 10-mile call and the 3-mile call. The 152 pilot is making standard calls in the pattern. and yet they continue to converge with neither pilot altering their course or taking evasive action. This is where the investigation is likely going to focus. One of the areas of interest is the speed of the twin. Looking at ADS-B tracks and assuming that speed is correct, the twin never gets below about 179 knots all the way through the accident. Even as close as 3-mile final and 1-mile final, he's calling straight in with a full stop, and yet his speed is some 179 knots, and a typical approach speed would be somewhere around 90 to 95 knots. In fact, we went back and looked at previous tracks of that airplane, and on short final, on average, the plane is around 95 knots for final approach speed. So it's a curious element of this accident, why the twin was so fast coming into the pattern. And that kind of speed coming into a VFR pattern is certainly ill-advised. In the case of the 152 and inside that cockpit, the pilot is obviously aware of the twin coming in. At an on-hit base call, the twin pilot has already called 3 miles. In fact, the twin calls 3 miles, and the 152 calls it left base. As a general rule, it's a bad idea, regardless of priority and traffic preference, to turn final inside traffic that's inside of 3 miles. Anytime traffic is inside of 5 miles, we should be careful, and we should just avoid turning inside of any traffic that's at 3 miles. The Cessna turns final, and we're not sure whether he has visual or whether he's picking the traffic up on ADS-B in. Either way, there's a communication where you can hear the 152 pilot say, "You're coming up rapidly on me, I'm just going to go around." He executes the go around. By visual estimates, it was at about 200 feet that the airplanes collide, so somewhere in that range, the 152 pilot attempts a go around, attempts to move to the right side of the runway, but he's collided with by the Cessna 340, the twin that's coming in at such high speed. However this accident unfolds, and whatever the NTSB finds, it's a good accident to bring up the discussion around traffic pattern entry and traffic pattern priority. So the only real guidance we have about traffic patterns is that, as far as preference and priority goes, is that when 2 aircraft are approaching a runway, the lower aircraft has priority. In this case, it's unclear. First of all, the 152 is already in the pattern, so he's not really approaching lower than the twin. Now, there is some other guidance that also says that traffic on final has priority over other traffic. The gray area here is, what do you define as a final? 1 mile, 3 mile, 5 mile? Can you be on a 10-mile final and have priority? That's always been a gray area in general aviation. In general, we should just consider that we make our calls, we listen, and we establish deconfliction early. And that's probably the biggest lesson that will come out of this accident. And that is, both pilots could see a conflict developing, and it appears that neither took action aggressively enough to avoid a collision. The 152 pilot attempts so, but attempts so late that he's unable to avoid the collision. And the lesson for all of us is that when you see any kind of conflict developing, take action early. Another lesson that comes out of this is the FAA recommends that VFR traffic enter the pattern in a standard pattern entry, that is 45 degrees to the downwind. They allow for straight-in approaches for things like coming off an IFR approach, but they're really kind of exceptions. If you read between the lines, that's really what it's implying. And in this case, the 340, it appears, was flying VFR. If the ADS-B data is correct, he flew over en route at 6,500 feet, 65 to 70-mile trip for him. He stays VFR and does a high-speed VFR descent into the pattern in a straight-in. That kind of approach, being fast and coming straight into a pattern that already has traffic flying VFR patterns, is not recommended. It's a much better approach to establish a standard pattern entry for the reasons that this accident brings up, the whole idea of conflict and establishing our deconfliction. The importance of establishing these standardized procedures for entering the pattern is reinforced with our accident numbers for mid-airs. On average, in general aviation, we have about 6 mid-airs a year. About 4 of those mid-airs are fatal. And visibility was 10 miles or more, and some 50% of mid-air collisions happen inside the traffic pattern, and 80% of those happen with an aircraft on final. We made the point in our last video about belly checks when you're coming off of an extended turn or when you're turning from base to final. That belly check is anytime that you're making a turn from base to final, just making one final check that final approach is clear and there's nobody coming in that will be a conflict before you go belly up and turn on your approach. So those belly checks may or may not have been a factor in this accident. It doesn't appear as if it was. It's a good habit to get into when you're on base. Before you turn final, take a quick belly check to make sure that area is going to be clear. There's a lot more to learn about this accident as it unfolds and the NTSB investigation materializes. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, any thoughts, comments?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, again, probably being one of the newest pilots in the room, you know, of course we're always taught, you know, enter on the 45, but, you know, like my new home is going to be Corona, uncontrolled airport, a lot of traffic, or a decent amount of traffic around Corona, and what's interesting is, you know, enter on the 45 means what? Because, you know, I may have to draw just so everybody can follow what I'm saying. The weird thing that I see, or can see how people disagree, is if here's our runway, right, and we intend on landing here.
What number is that? 25?
Well, let's just say it's 25, but you know, it doesn't. Let's just say it's 25, but it doesn't
Okay.
really matter for these purposes. So if this is the runway, you know, obviously, you know, the pattern is going to look, you know, something like this, right? Right? The pattern's going to look like that. So we all want, what they typically want, is you coming in here, right? So what I've also heard and been trained is that what if that's if you're coming from this side of the pattern. That's awesome. That's wonderful. You know, coming from the 45. If you're coming in from the opposite side, what I've always been taught and what I see in the bar is you come cross midfield. And when you get out here, you do the teardrop to come back in. And I never see people do this. I may have seen one aircraft do this while sitting on the ground at Corona. I saw one come over and do a teardrop entry and to fly over midfield and do the teardrop entry 45 degree. And this is what I was taught. This is what's in the FARs, but a lot of people just don't do it. You know,
Is actually the teardrop in the FARs to do? Or can you actually,
It's not in the
can you
FARs.
come over midfield, 500 feet? Typically, this is what I've been doing.
500 plus 500
feet higher than the pattern altitude.
right.
You come in, you go midfield, you come down, and then you actually just turn left into the downwind. But you're going to announce that.
And the reason, and
instead of doing the teardrop, you just turn left into the downwind.
And I think the reason, you know, for the way I was trained, you're right, it may not be in the FARs, because when you do this, you get a clear look at the pattern when you do that. And yeah, it takes more time and, you know, it's a pain in the butt, but you come in 500 plus 500 feet.
Huh?
Depends on if there's anybody else in the pattern too.
Right.
Yeah,
now,
I mean, you get a clear look at the pattern when you're coming perpendicular to the pattern.
supposedly. And the reason this came up is because, you know, particularly my instructor was one time came in, did this simple right turn, and there was an unannounced, guess what, Cirrus. No, we'll never believe that it was a Cirrus, but there was a Cirrus that was in the pattern not announcing. And
Yeah, that's the danger of a
Non-tower.
non-towered airport.
Right.
You're gonna, there's established procedures so you can avoid those instances.
right.
But that doesn't mean that everybody's gonna apply by those established, recommended, by the way, procedures. They're not mandatory.
Right. And that was what I was trying to get at is, I think everybody has to develop their own level of caution, I guess. And it's like, well, it's an uncontrolled airport, there's unknown traffic, spend the extra
'Cause
360.
Pretty much that's how I go into French Valley all the time from here. I
You
go
should just go
midfield and I go left
left.
into the pattern into French Valley and come in.
That's
Yeah.
what I did yesterday.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
So,
French Valley.
but yeah, this one was interesting. Like I said, I've heard about the teardrop, which makes sense from a safety standpoint.
Teardrops are nice. It gives you a little bit more time to set up, and you're coming in. Basically, you're coming into a 45 to the downwind.
Well, and the only
So-
problem with it, I think, from most people's standpoint, is of course doing a big teardrop turn at low speed, low
Yeah.
altitude.
But what's the most important thing? The most important thing is you're going to announce your intentions. You're going to announce what you're doing, and hopefully the other guy's on the same frequency, listening to what you're doing,
Right.
and complying.
And that's the case that, you know, people, I think, there's a lot of pilots out there that just
Have you ever
don't-
been
they
to
don't
an
wanna say
airport where
something.
you've had the wrong frequency in it and you're announcing like crazy, but
Yep.
nobody can hear you?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're not on the right frequency by one digit.
Yep.
You know, because you bumped it or something. Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, that happens, and be
So that's why
cautious
we look.
and
avoid-
look outside.
Yeah.
Look and avoid.
Not
And
one eyeball.
over reliance on a DSB in is a factor in number of incidents by now. Pilots assume it's real time. It's not real time. The delay can be minutes. And the fast moving airplane like the one in this accident travel long distance in 2 minutes. So that may explain that surprise that you coming straight back at me. I will go around, but the other aircraft was already on top, so there was no time to react.
It can be.
Yeah, but ADSB
It depends.
Remember, it can be delayed up to 20 minutes. So if you're looking at an ADS display, that guy could be 20 minutes behind you or 20 minutes in front of you.
No, traffic is not that bad. It's estimated at from 30 seconds to 2 minutes on average, and in certain cases it's close to real time.
Yeah,
better.
it depends.
But you can't rely on it.
Remember the day I was doing the ASB thing, so remember, it depends on a number of factors. If every airplane has ADSB out and ADSB in,
Right.
then everybody's going to get a near real-time picture and a defined puck around each aircraft.
You'll have a better idea. Yeah.
If you're missing one component of ADSB, you will get a partial feed from ground,
Mhm.
which will be delayed, you know, up to 30
Actually,
seconds, a minute.
I apologize. I'm thinking about the TIS system is 20 minutes delayed. I'm sorry, not the ADSB.
So, yeah.
Mixing technologies here. Sorry.
Yeah, so highly recommended to get familiar with AC 9066 Bravo. It talks about operations in non-towered airports and recommended entries and so on and so forth. Another great example where it's been neglected all the time is Catalina. Catalina is non-towered airport, but there is a person sitting in the tower who is actually talking on a frequency, and pilots perceive that that is a tower operation, and that person is frantically telling pilots no straight ins. It's actually in the comments for the airport, but many people ignore it. Too many.
Yeah, he's just a glorified parking attendant.
True,
you pay
but
$25.
it makes an
Yeah.
illusion that it's an attended
more now.
airport.
Last time I was there was
28.
25.
So that concludes our meeting today. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate those attending. We have Mario Rodriguez online on Teams, and
Thank you very much, Commander.
thank you.